Been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
Testing.
I took my grandson to see what was the movie with like
I think it's
with
like
Kiki. And like, and she had a baby with a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. They put it everywhere. What I thought your boy Big Snoop
Snoop catching some heat for comments he made about LGBTQ representation.
put it everywhere.
Hello, testing. Hello, testing. Okay, I guess we're on and we're good. Just giving a couple more people just a chance to log in. Sorry, I've been away for a little while. I was out of the country, though I am a proud American. Things make a lot more sense when you're living somewhere else. Once you move to another country, your expenses drop to 1/5 of what they are just to live in the US. And it becomes very appealing for you to want to set up a remote location somewhere outside of our own borders where you might want to relocate in case of an emergency or for just a different lifestyle. But one thing you learn when you go to these other countries is that everyone's a lot more conservative. You don't see men walking around dressed as women. You see more families. You see a father in every family. You don't see single moms everywhere. You don't see, I'm at the beach. I live on the beach every day in my new country. And every 10 yards there's a family and there's a father in every single group. And I haven't seen a father with a family in the United States in God knows how long. So when I'm in these other countries, you do miss your country, but you miss what your country used to be. We used to have fathers, we used to have families. That's what made our country strong. We've lost a lot of that, and it's going to be a war. It's going to be a fight to get back to what we lost. But until then, I have been out of the country. That's why I've been away and I haven't been making a lot of content. But Snoop Dogg recently came under fire. I want to go over why. He thought he was special. He thought he could just bury his head in the sand and the problems wouldn't get to him. He's learning the hard way that no matter how much fame and money you have, you're also on the menu. And your kids are on their menu as well. Your kids will be theirs. Those won't be your kids anymore. If you're not paying attention and if you're not vigilant about your morals and your values. People think because he comes from the hip hop world that he might not have any morals or values. Oh, you make music videos about this, music videos about that. What people don't understand is that as adults, we're supposed to be able to discern from reality and from make-believe. When they're doing these rap videos, when they're making these movies, they're exaggerations of what goes on in their neighborhoods. But it's for entertainment purposes. You're not supposed to take it literally, you're not supposed to take it seriously. If he makes a rap song about going to rob a liquor store, as a coherent, functioning human, your brain should not tell you, let me grab a weapon and go rob a liquor store. You can't blame that on Snoop. But when there are movies telling your children that men should kiss men and girls should kiss girls and two girls can give birth, it's confusing. I'll let him talk about it and we'll go into it. Let's see here. Oh, I muted it. Sorry.
Let's see. What was the movie with Buzz? Like,
I think it's called
with
like
Kiki. And like, and she had a baby with a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. They putting it everywhere. What up, though? It's your boy Big Snoop D-O Double G.
You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked?
You know, years ago, people like me made videos where we were discussing how they've literally threatened and said they're coming for our kids. And now Snoop is barely noticing that this stuff is everywhere. Did he think his kids were going to be exempt? Did he think his kids were special or better? Or was he not worried about his kids? He's not worried about anyone else's kids. He's just worried about his own personal bottom line. You know what they say, the older you get, the more conservative you get. Now Snoop's being accused of being a Trump supporter. It's crazy. It doesn't take much for you to be considered a Trump supporter. All you have to do is just say men cannot give birth and sex with children should be illegal. Just those two small points that I thought every American agreed upon until a few years ago. If you just make those 2 points, you're officially a full-blown right-wing Trump supporter, extremist, racist, terrorist. That's what you're labeled as now. And I guess Snoop just wasn't paying attention. Snoop didn't know that this applied to him as well. I mean, I don't know. I posted this. I made a video about this years ago. I guess Snoop must have didn't watch my content.
Funny, just this once, you're correct. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked? Funny, just this once, you're correct.
This is not a satire. These are plans. He says, you think we'll corrupt your children if our agenda goes unchecked. But just for once, this time, you're correct. We're coming for your children. It's literally the chorus of this song. This video has not been banned on YouTube. The men who made the video threatening to go after children and target them directly have not been arrested and brought to justice. They're protected. They're all in California. And their influence is spreading unchecked. And Snoop is barely just now figuring this out. And what is Snoop saying? He doesn't want his son to be. He doesn't want his grandson to be gay. Any of us that have been around gay people, we understand what that leads to. The number one thing that, in my experience growing up, that I've ever seen from people who live this alternative lifestyle is self-deletion, suicide. If there is a depopulation agenda and you want our strongest men to not be on the battlefield fighting against you, the strategic thing to do would be find ways to get them to delete themselves. And I think this is one of their most powerful techniques. You know, I knew kids that were growing up who had incidents where they were molested or had things happen to them, or they were experimenting. Once they grow up and they become more conservative and they have kids of their own, the embarrassment of what they used to do when they were younger sets in. They can't live with it. They can't live with themselves. The shame of what they used to do when they were younger, it haunts them. And most of them don't live to be 34 years old before they delete themselves one day. That's what that lifestyle leads to. Or you become a Democrat, you get a job working somewhere in government, and you try to basically dismantle and destroy the system from the inside because you're angry, you're hateful. There is no purpose for you for tomorrow, you don't have children, you're gay. There is no family unit, there's no husband, there's no wife, there's no children. Humans have lived a certain way for all of recorded history. Only recently are we now trying to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't work. I don't know if you guys remember the movie Idiocracy. Forcing the LGBTQ lifestyle and promoting it is the systematic equivalent of using Gatorade to water grass. You might think it's going to work because it's the most progressive, newest thing, right? And it's with electrolytes, but that's not, no. Traditional methods is what works. That's long term. People are made to live a certain way. Water is used to water plants for a reason. You're not going to be able to replace water, and you're not going to be able to reinvent the wheel with something else that's going to work better. That's not how it works. It's just going to lead to death. The same way you're going to kill your plants if you try to water them with Gatorade, you are going to end up killing yourself and killing off your family if you try to live a different lifestyle. That's just how it goes at the bottom line. And with a lot of men, this is another reason why our suicide rates are so high, because there's a lot of things that men have to unpack that they used to do when they were younger, when they were convinced. Now they're trying to convince you you're not actually a man if you won't date another man that's pretending to be a woman, a trans person. Now you're not a man. Now you're a phobic, or you have all these weird terms, and it's all just manipulating you to eventually self-delete. That's it. And when there's no men around, and who's going to stop the pervs from going after the kids? There's no one. You are the first line of defense. Snoop is barely realizing this. As an adult, seasoned rapper, super successful, and he's realizing now that he was a part of the problem by not speaking up sooner. See, he's too old now, he's not making music, so there's nothing to cancel. But look at some of the blowback he's receiving.
Snoop catching some heat for comments he made about LGBTQ representation on the It's Giving podcast.
And that's the thing. Why do you got to represent this to children? Why do you need to represent this to children? Why do you care that children understand your sexuality? Why do you even want to talk about sex or have the topic come up with children? That's a huge problem. And we have to come up with a solution for it. Peace is not the solution.
The rapper explaining his shock at seeing lesbian parents depicted on screen. The scene from the 2022 film marked Disney's first same-sex kiss.
Oh my God.
Disgusting and unnecessary for many of these movie plots. I'll be honest, I don't even watch most of these movies. I don't watch any of them because there's always some black gay person, no matter who it is, no matter what movie. It could be an Asian person or a white woman or a white male or a Korean or it doesn't matter what race of person is depicted in a movie. Their lover counterpart is going to be a gay black. Every single time. Every time. Why is that? I've been telling you guys for years, black people have been the target of the depopulation agenda. It's been agreed upon. There's a treaty about it. It's already been done. If you remember what happened in 2021, if you're looking at all the black women that are being fired from these jobs, how are you able to still keep an economy going in a country with 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 less people in these positions? It's almost as if those positions didn't mean anything in the first place. Well, then who were these people why'd you hire these black women to begin with if you were just going to fire them? Well, you needed to give them money so that they would do something that they normally wouldn't have done, but the money helped convince them. And that was comply with the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris mandates of 2021. Now, since that's already over, the damage is already done, it's time to get rid of those people because bereavement payments from the government are going to start adding up quickly. And if you're working somewhere and you pass away, people expect the company to help cover your expenses. That's too many people to cover. You're going to have to start letting them go. They are the target demographic. And this also plays into why they will not and they cannot release the Epstein files right now. People keep forgetting the Epstein Island, there was a laboratory there. They did research there. That wasn't just a place that you go for vacation. It was a place that people went for experimentation. It wasn't just politicians, they were scientists. And what I can discern that they were working on was the research that went into what everyone had to do post to come out of lockdown. That's where it was perfected. You think Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna came up with the solution? You're wrong. They didn't. Someone gave it to them. Who developed it? Who gave it to them? Who was it customized to specifically be very effective inside of? That's all inside the Epstein files. That's why the Epstein files cannot be released right now, because right now you're going to have to worry about the community that was targeting blaming Trump for warp speed, because the media is going to manipulate them to do so. Right now, that's going to create too much confusion, too much chaos. We're going to need another 3 years. In 3 years, that population is going to go from where it's at now, which is about 11%, maybe 10% right now, because we've lost 3% from 13. Once that population gets to about 5 to 6%, which is only going to take a couple more years, then they'll be able to release the Epstein files, and the damage is already going to be done, and there's not going to be as much collateral damage as far as protests or riots. It's not going to help. It's over. But we need more time before we can release the Epstein files. But it all ties into basically this depopulation agenda. Snoop, now that he's not distracted by drugs and all these different things pulling at him, now he just wants to be a family man and raise his grandkids, and he has boys. And he sees these other of his friends, his grandsons, are boys that are now little girls. He doesn't want that for his family, which is rightfully so. But the problem is, when you're black and you're the target of the depopulation agenda, you cannot say you do not want your children to be gay. Because now you're saying you want your children to live when there is a direct depopulation agenda towards them. That's contradictory to the agenda. You can't have that. Why do you think there's no R&B music? You cannot have the group that you've targeted for depopulation listening to music about marriage, sex, and reproducing and having children. That literally contradicts the depopulation plan. So you can't have you can't have songs about love, and you can't have songs about marriage. You can't have that type of music anymore. It's banned officially. It won't get promoted, it won't get played, it won't get too big. People like R. Kelly, who made music called I Want to Get You Pregnant, they have to go to prison. They have to be removed. And anybody else that wants to make music like that has to be destroyed. There's no place for it in today's society, because the group that was the most influenced by that music, because they make the music, is the target of removal. I have to say things a certain way because we're also on FluffTube, and I talk to people like it's just you and me, because it is. My videos get shared. These are some new channels I have, but there's more going on that I can't just talk about on here, because then they could flag this music and then I'm ceding territory. I want to be able to talk to people, but I have to talk a certain way. But if you listen to what I'm saying, you'll understand. This group, Snoop Dogg's group, they're being removed. And the justification for it is everything you see on social media: the violence, the fighting, the basically the pushing of communism. Nobody could really do anything about it all these years until somebody named Jeffrey Epstein comes along, the Israeli intelligence agency, and they're able to speak to the World Economic Forum. Then there's a financier by the name of Bill Gates. And then there's somebody that works for NIH named Fauci, who was already a part of an agenda targeting Snoop's community in the 80s that failed. Don't get me wrong, they got a lot of results, and there was a lot of Snoop's demographic was removed, but it didn't stop. It didn't. The fear of contracting HIV did not stop them from still multiplying. So they got some results, but they needed more. That's why the whole CV thing came into play, the lockdowns. It's basically just a continuation of what they started in the 80s with the whole HIV agenda. And I prove this. I share videos, I share content. If you go, does anybody that follows me on Instagram or anybody that follows me on Facebook, I talk about it and I explain everything in detail. Snoop is just dumbfounded because some of this stuff especially if you make it to his age in life, you've seen it, but it's hard for you to believe it. But yet, during the George Floyd riots, I remember Snoop's demographic saying that these people are trying to kill us. They hate us. They this. Okay, so if you felt that way then, why is it so hard for you to believe that now? When I'm presenting to you the evidence, and I'm basically telling you that you were right back in 2020, you were correct. Now, why those same people who you would call your mortal enemies, you would let them give you injections, I don't know.
That's in the middle of the movie, like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of I don't have an answer for it.
It's crazy. He's so afraid of getting canceled that as a parent, your job is to teach your children. He's so afraid of the backlash, he's afraid to have a conversation and teach his child. So basically, he wants you to teach his child. So what are you going to decide to teach Snoop's grandson? That everything's okay? Nothing's off limits, right? Nothing's wrong. There is no morals. There's no compass. There's no tradition. There's no right. There's no wrong. There's no up. There's no down. Matter of fact, 4 plus 4 does not equal 8. It can equal 10 if you want it. Yeah, 2 women can't have kids, but maybe they can. Maybe, everything goes. It's just there is no shared reality. There's no such thing as facts anymore. It's up in the air. So, and I hope I never, ever make it to a position in life where I'm so afraid of losing anything that I'm willing to say that the sky is a different color than the color that I see. Someone walks up to me and they say, tell me that you see 3 cards, but there's only 2 cards in your hand. And they put a gun to my head and they say there's 3 cards. What am I going to say? There's 3, and because I'm afraid to die, I'm going to lie and I have to go along with that lie for how long, even though I know better? We're all going to have to make a decision on what we're going to stand for and what we're not going to stand for. You know what they say, you stand for something or you fall for anything. This man is old, rich, successful, and scared to death because what he's realizing that everything about his world is built on matchsticks. And guess who's holding a torch? The gay community. They're holding a torch. They can just burn your whole house down if you say something wrong. Matter of fact, somebody did. Let's see here. Where's the volume button?
And his fame is based off expression. So my question is, Snoop, you have music videos with women dancing and kissing other women, dancing naked. So why is displaying lesbian behavior in your music videos appropriate, and you are afraid to answer the questions from your grandchildren?
So wait a minute, there's a...
And I can explain that one. Well, first things first, Snoop's videos are for adults. These cartoons are for kids. That's the answer. That's it. It's over. That's the end of the conversation. I will indoctrinate my children into my beliefs. I will decide what my children listen to or exposed to. I will indoctrinate my children to be like me, not to just be free into the world as fluid and they just decide what they know. That's not how it works. Until 80 years ago, you did whatever your father did for a living. You were his apprentice. People have children so that they could learn the family's business, a family's craft, and you followed your parents. Commercial education where they put you in a school with a bell, you sit at a desk all day. That's extremely new to human society. That's not how people live. And now we're realizing it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're not going to get the results by dumping your kid in a school. Your kids have to learn from you. You are the one who has to be in charge of indoctrinating your children into your beliefs, your religious beliefs. And it's crazy. They're going after American kids. You don't see them pushing this on kids of Islam or Buddhists or these other races of immigrants that are coming into this country. They're only going after these Western kids with this ideology. They're not asking why. They're not attacking Arab celebrities and saying, well, why don't you want your kids to be gay and listen to the flag? They're not even going. They're not even trying them. But they're trying the people who they want to get rid of, specifically. And that's why they get people from your same background to go after you. And I'm surprised. Harvey's gay. I don't know if the black dude is, but I'm surprised they're even pushing back on this trans dude, T.S. Madison, who's actually taking an issue with Snoop saying that he's afraid of taking his kids to the movie, which that's his fucking right to be. And as a man who has a mental illness, which makes you think that you're a woman, why is anyone platforming you to speak anyway? You should be in a hospital. But I'll let them finish.
There's an answer to that, which is that the videos that he
Matter of fact, let me make sure this is still coming across on X. Let's see here. Where's my... You did whatever your father did for a living. You were his apprentice. Okay. All right, that's good. We're still on the air, not kicked off, thankfully. So where are we at? T.S. Madison. Okay.
For his music videos for adults, they're not like
I think he would
for kids.
say that
They're not for
those
kids.
music videos aren't for kids.
I know that would be the setting and that would be the end, but as a person who understands how kids work, kids see everything.
You don't have any fucking kids. You'll never have kids. You can never get birthed out of your ass. I don't care what anybody tells you. Your mental disability is going to say otherwise. Rico is here to tell you that you're absolutely wrong. Never going to happen. You should not be worried about our kid. You should be worried about what you're going to do with your life since you don't have children, you don't have a wife, you don't have a family. One day, these people, when they realize that their life is amounted to just, glory holes and having random smacks with animals, whatever, then they eventually just off themselves. You should be worried about keeping yourself alive. I don't know if you ever noticed, you don't see any 50-year-old or 60-year-old trans people for the most part. Like there's tens of thousands of them, teenagers and 20s. You don't see very many of them make it past 34 years old because they self-delete. So that's why when you're sitting here advocating because you want children to believe in what you're believing in, you want him to talk to your kids about, you're basically threatening because you want to see Snoop's grandsons never grow up to be men that have wives and have children. You don't want his children to multiply. You want his kids to grow up confused about sexuality, and you want them to delete themselves, which is a problem.
Kids see everything. They see music videos. They hear lyrics. They hear these things.
But TS, that's where parenting comes in, right? I mean, you're right. Kids, if you just let them, they can see everything. But
And I'm glad you said that's where parenting comes in. Because as a parent, you should also explain to your children that other things exist in the world outside of what you have deemed normal in your own home.
Let me ask you something, because I'm gay and I get the points you're making, but at the same time, maybe at a certain
Them down. Snoop Dogg has historically been an advocate against censoring, and his fame is based off expression. So my question is, Snoop, you have dancing and kissing other women, dancing naked. So why is displaying lesbian behavior in your music videos appropriate, and you are afraid to answer the questions from your grandchildren?
So wait a minute. There's an answer to that, which is that the videos that he does for his music videos for adults, they're not like
I think he would
for kids.
say that
They're not for
those
kids.
music videos aren't for kids.
I know that would be the setting and that would be the but as a person who understands how kids work, kids see everything. Kids see everything. They see music videos. They hear lyrics. They hear these things.
But TS, that's where parenting comes in, right? I mean, you're right. Kids, if you just let them, they can see everything. But
And I'm glad you said that's where parenting comes in. Because as a parent, you should also explain to your children that other things exist in the world outside of what you have deemed.
I'll stop you right there. I'm not going to explain to my children that there are sick, mentally ill people out there that want to harm children, that want to mutilate children, and that my children need to accept that and be okay with that. That's not the truth. There are mentally ill people out here that literally want to become serial killers. Should I tell my kids that they need to meet people like that and be accepting of them when they do, and if they don't accept a serial killer, then they are a bigot? Then there's nothing wrong with being a bigot. If it's racist because you don't want a serial killer or a pedo to be around your children, then there's nothing wrong with being a racist. You got to understand, they're literally drawing a line in the sand, and they're basically saying that anything that is against their agenda is either racist or some kind of phobic. But they're putting it, but the line is being drawn between black and white. If you're white, you're considered an oppressor, and you're a Christian, and you're against pedophilia. And they're like, but if you want to say that you're accepting and loving and anything goes, well, now you're black and you're on this other side. So they're literally conflating race with mental illness and sickness. And they're basically saying that anybody who's white is a conservative, Trump supporting, a bigot that's against. And it's like, okay, you're literally forcing people to go on to the other side. Like I said, even if you don't want to be, you are de facto a Trump supporter, because there's nobody that's going to say, I'm okay with pedophiles as long as they're helping me in my imaginary fight against Donald fucking Trump. You're willing to compromise yourself. You're willing to sacrifice your children to the gay cult to spite Trump. So you'll cut your nose off, right? To spite the rest of your face. Like, none of that makes sense. And you're going to have to snap out of it. And I'm going to help you. You're lucky. I'm here. This right here is what I'm going against. This is not difficult for me to go against. Logic will prevail. This thing is trying to convince you that it's okay for 50-year-old men to touch and have relations with your 8-year-old son. That's the whole purpose of this agenda. This thing right here has no other purpose. It's not to get you to accept them. We don't give a shit about men dressing in wigs and dressing as women. The only thing we care about is, why do you want to go do it at an elementary school? Why do you want to read the preschoolers? Why is every chance you get, you're caught trying to touch or be alone with kids? Why are you trying to convince kids to join you? And I know the reason why. They consider themselves a separate group. But Like just like me, if I have my own children, my children are going to be like me. These things can't have children. Their children come from you. They have to convince your children to join them. It's a big difference. They need your children. So that's why they're so interested in indoctrinating your children. And Snoop saying this literally creates, now other parents are going to be influenced to think, well, wait a minute, should I be taking my kids to see these movies too? And what is that eventually going to do? It's a ripple effect that will actually take their access to children and make it go down. They'll have less access to children because the more parents that ask questions, the more parents that are involved, the less access sick men dressed as women like this are going to have to your children. That's why they don't want you asking questions. And that's why they're trying to come so hard. They're trying to come down so hard on Snoop. And we're just not going to believe it. But you got to think about it. Snoop, you're a little bit late, buddy.
We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep them from disco, warn about San Francisco. Make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
At first, I didn't get why you'd be so scared of us turning your children into accepting, caring people, but I see now why you have a problem.
Just like you worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve of where they go at night to protest. Oh, and you'll be disgusted when they start finding things online that you've kept far from their sight, like information. Guess what? You'll still be alright. We'll convert your children, yes we will.
Reaching one and all, there's really no escaping it.
'Cause even grandma likes RuPaul.
And the world's getting kinder.
Gen Z's gayer than Grinder. Learn to love, learn to vogue, face your fate. Convert your children. Someone's gotta teach them not to hate. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for your children.
Keep in mind, these are all men that were likely abused, maybe in the Boy Scouts or by relatives when they were younger, and hurt people hurt people. They want your children. Snoop didn't see my earlier content, but I guess better late than never, Snoop. Now you know you're right. They're coming for your kids. You're going to need to stay actively involved with them. You're going to have to show them the way. You're going to have to indoctrinate them to your beliefs and to be like you. If not, then you're sacrificing your children and turning them over to sadistic, evil pedophiles that are literally waiting for them in San Francisco so that they can actually convince them that they want to change their gender. And they can kidnap them and take them to California, which is a sanctuary state for trans kids, and there will be nothing law enforcement can do about it. This is all happening right now. This is all real. These are a greater threat than the Taliban or any other terrorist group in the world because they speak the language, they know the topography of the land, and they're threatening to come for your children while you ignore them. Snoops, you're about 4 years late, Snoop. This is a 4-year-old video, my friend. Hopefully it's not too late. Hopefully it's not too late, Snoop.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.